From Brookville, Indiana, Dollar Bill Lowen. 62 pounds, 10 ounces to start the day. Bill Lowen looking for 18 pounds, 2 ounces. 20 pounds, 11 ounces. It is finally Dollar Bill's day.
Hey everyone, Bill Lowen here. Finishing up on Lake Pickwick. What an amazing event. You know, when this event started, I'll be honest with you, I didn't know how it was going to turn out. When we got here for practice, the lake was down further than I've ever seen it. I believe it was probably down a foot below winter pool, which from what I understand is not normal. And I think they knew we had some weather coming and a lot of rain coming, but there was absolutely hardly anything in the water for me to flip to. And you know, me being a shallow water river rat, I'm always looking for something to flip to, whether that be rocks, docks, laydowns, whatever it had been. And that wasn't the case. We didn't have anything in the water to fish. And so I got on an offshore deal. You know, I was going to concentrate on which is a popular community hole here on Lake Pickwick, down by Kroger Island. I believe that's how you pronounce it. And I was fishing the shallow high spots out there. And when I say shallow, there was some ridge tops out there that were 2 or 3 foot deep. And actually some of the ridges were exposed. They were completely dry ground. And there was grass edges out there and isolated stumps. And I could go out through there pitching my same jig, but in a green pumpkin then, because the water was clean. And I could concentrate on those grass edges. You know, I could see the grass edges on my 360. I could see those isolated stumps out there. I could make pitches to them, and I could get bites. Well, as the week went on and we started getting rain, I forget how many inches of rain. We got 6, 8 inches of rain. The river came up, I'm going to say 6 or 8 foot. There was water in places that we hadn't seen water all week. What helped me this week in this event was growing up on the Ohio River and being used to these conditions. I mean, the Ohio River does this every spring, comes up and floods and gets muddy, and I attacked Lake Pickwick just like I would the Ohio River at home. And fortunately enough, when I came into that area that I was going to fish, behind that island, I seen a whole row of trees that were in the water that, and in practice didn't have any water in them at all. And I could see the current rolling around them and things, and I thought, if these fish got pushed anywhere, that's exactly where they're going to go. And fortunately, when I pulled up to the first tree, I got a bite. I missed that fish. When I pulled up to the second tree, I caught a fish. I don't remember if it was a 3 or a 4 pounder, but those 2 bites were enough to clue me in and say, hey, these fish have moved up here, and you just got to slow down and fish. And that's exactly what I did. Almost down. Yeah, that's the way to start the morning. Woo! The other piece of the puzzle that I found in that stretch was there was a clump of reeds about as big as my boat. And when I got to that clump of reeds, I pitched out on the nose of it, and I had one on about 2.5 pounds, and she come up and threw it. My next pitch to the reeds, I catch a 5 pounder. I put that fish in the box. My next pitch up there, I believe it was probably the male, which was close to 3 pounds. And I put that fish in the box. So those reeds were really, really shallow. I'm saying probably a foot deep. That was the key to me that said these fish have already made that move. They've already went to what I call the hill. They went up to the hill, and they were already up there shallow. And I just couldn't believe it. I was shocked. So after I got done running that hard cover and figured out that reed deal, I started running reeds, and was fortunate enough that day, actually on the second day, to catch some really big fish fishing in the reeds. So that was kind of my 1-2 punch, concentrating on the main river hard current, the laydown trees and the bluff swings and things like that. And before that water started falling out, I could get some really good bites in the reeds. But that went away as the water started to fall. Then I had to start concentrating on hard cover that still had some water left on it. So this week here at Pickwick, there's a tremendous amount of current out there, okay? So let's say you're going up through there and I catch a fish out of a tree, and I get that fish out, and maybe I need to put him in the live well or I need to cull. It's so important that you don't get blown back down the bank. So simply by either 1, hitting spot lock, or 2, putting the raptors down, when I get done doing what I'm doing, I can stand right back up. I'm in the exact same spot as that tree, and I can start working on that tree again. I don't ruin any more cover. It just lets you relax so you're not having to worry about boat positioning, okay? So on day 3 for me, it was one of those nervous days for me because I didn't get any big bites that day. I caught a tremendous amount of 3.5 pound fish. I believe I had 17.5 pounds, but every time I set the hook, it was a 3.5 pounder. Which, look, I mean, I'm tickled to death that they were 3.5 pounders and not 2.5 pounders, but what had started to happen was the water had started to fall. Not truly on a free fall, but it was starting to fall. And I feel like that the first fish to get affected by that are always the biggest fish. Always, I guess we're going to call them the smarter, the wiser fish that know, hey, this water's falling, it's time for us to go. And those young bucks that aren't so smart, they'll still stay up there. So like I said, that was the biggest difference for me from the first 2 days, is that on the 3rd day, I just didn't get those big bites. I caught a lot of, like I said, a lot of 3.5 pounders, and just was void of those big bites. But so here we are, the 4th day. I typically have one area. I have one primary area that I've about weighed in everything that I've caught, except some of the big bites that I got out of the reeds. And I rolled to my first area. I know the river was on a free fall all night, and the very first thing I noticed is that the wind had blew out of the southeast all night long, and it was lapping onto the island, okay? And the island is red clay, and when that wind starts lapping on it, it muddies the water up, and the current just pulls it down the whole island. So my very first initial thought was, oh my gosh, the water's filthy muddy. It was orange. Then I pull up to this tree where I'd caught fish every single day, and it's 2 foot out of the water. And I immediately think, oh my gosh, this ain't good. And I remember myself saying, this ain't good for Bill Lowen. And so I made one quick pass on the farthest ends of the trees with the thought of, if the water's falling, those fish are going to pull out to the ends of those trees. So I just hustled up through there and hit those, what I want to call high percentage, what should have been high percentage areas, and I never had a bite. I think it took me about 30 or 40 minutes to finally decide to pull the plug. And I'm going to be honest with you, if I had not been fishing the way that I like to fish and fishing in my comfort zone, the way I grew up, I probably wouldn't have been able to make that decision as quick as I did. But with that being said, I knew that with that falling water that I was going to have to concentrate on structure that had deeper access or deeper water. And that's exactly what I did. I started running docks that I knew had 4 or 5 foot of water on them. I started running bluff ends and bluff swings that had deeper water on them as well. So that's what I did. I went to my set of docks and I got a bite. It was a short fish. Then I got another bite. It was another short fish. And then I caught a keeper. And then when you get that first fish, you're like, well, at least I'm not going to zero, okay? So I ran a little more docks, didn't get any bites, and I just had that feeling, you know. So I ran over to some bluffs that I had some bites on in practice, and sure enough, boom, boom, I catch 2 fish instantly that calmed me down. I think I even remember saying, man, I could kiss Matt Herron on the lips right now. That wouldn't be a pretty sight, but at that point, I mean, you're so excited and your emotions are running so high. And I was very fortunate that I fished that bluff, and then there was 4 docks up above it, and there was another bluff on the other side of those docks. So my theory, or my thought was, I'll just fish up through here, I'll fish these bluffs out, I'll fish these 4 or 5 docks, then I'll hop over to the next bluff. And thank God I did, because the first dock I pulled up to, I catch another keeper, gives me 4, and then I catch that giant fish. It weighed 8.5, I believe is what it was. When I first caught that fish and put her in my hand, I thought it was a 10-pounder. And it was amazing. I mean, I felt like 1,000,000 pounds had been lifted off of me. That was to this point, that's the most important fish that I've ever caught in my career. Oh, Nancy. Oh, baby, stay on. Please stay on. Oh, my gosh. Please stay on. Please. Come here. Come here. Come here. Yeah! Woo! Look at the size of that one! Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! Kenny Brower sent me a message last night and told me to catch him a 7-pounder on a black and blue jig. Oh my gosh! Look at the size of that thing! Woo! Oh my There'll be a fish and a bite that I'll never ever forget. And at that point, I felt like I had a shot. So I just went, put my head down and kept fishing, and I kept running those trees that were laying on them bluff ends and stuff that had current around. I believe I caught a fish out of about every tree that I fished. And it just worked out. I mean, when I dropped those fish on the scales and they weighed 20 pounds and some change, I was like, oh my gosh. And it's been a long time coming. It's been a grind. I mean, I'm known as a grinder, so why should this event been any different? I don't know if he's gonna make it. Caught that fish off of the 360 on a log laying out there. Right there is a prime example of why that 360 is so important. You know, it doesn't look like there's anything out there in front of me. Now I can see a log on my 360, and I caught that fish off of it. There it is right there at the top of the screen. Here it is right here coming up. I literally caught that fish right off the head of that lay down right there. Pretty cool to be able to see that. I mean, typically you'd never make a cast out here, and to be able to have that right there to let me know that lay down's right there. Pretty cool deal. Oh, I thought I had another one. Getting ready to start jumping up and down. I've been close so many times on that blue trophy that I was just prayed to God I didn't get another second place finish. And I think I truly wanted it for my family more than I did for myself. You know what I mean? My kids, my daughter and my son and my wife, and my kids have never known any different. You know, from the day they were born, this is all they've ever known. And the other day walking up the dock, my son says, "Dad, have you ever done this good since I've been alive?" And I said, "I can't remember, buddy. I don't remember when my last chance to have a shot to win was." And I mean, just to hear him say that, it just shows me how much that they wanted it for me as much as I wanted it for myself, and my daughter and my wife, and they're the glue that holds us all together. And without them, I couldn't do it. So, does the blue trophy validate my career? I think absolutely.